So I'm 11 years old, and I am a proud member of the Girl Scouts of America. I see I have some fellow sisters in the room, and it's my honor and privilege to go out and sell what? Cookies. That was the beginning of my sales career. And without a whole lot of training, I did pretty darn good. I won my little patch. I got my extra little crystals for every 25 boxes I sold. I was the top producer in my troop. And it got me thinking, I'd like to make some of that money for me. But I can't go and steal boxes of cookies from the Girl Scouts. I think they had me sign an NDA. Then it occurred to me, and I remembered my grandmother had the best muffin recipe in the world. And she didn't have me sign a non-disclosure agreement. So I became an entrepreneur, and I started my business. I got a little funding from M&D Bank, the bank of mom and dad. And I cooked up my batch of amazing muffins. And I had practice going door to door. So I went out into the neighborhood, door to door, with my basket of muffins. And to anyone that would open the door, I gave them my pitch for a subscription of a weekly delivery every Sunday of fresh, warm muffins. Now, how many of you would like fresh baked muffins delivered to your door every Sunday? Yeah. And I was about as adorable as I am now, so it was a pretty irresistible offer. And I had some great success. I got 3 subscriptions under my belt. But there were some of you who didn't raise their hands for my muffins. And just like you didn't, some of my neighbors didn't. And not only did they not subscribe, they laughed at me. They scoffed. They said I was stupid or was foolish. Can you imagine an adult crushing a child's dream? And I was crushed. I stopped after 3 subscriptions. Now, fast forward about 10 years ago. Somehow I managed to still be in sales. And I'm a real estate broker in New York City, probably one of the most difficult markets in the US, fair to say, yes. And I'm going to have the biggest deal of my career at that point, which is going to take me to the next stratosphere. And I was sitting with this client, and we were about ready to ink the deal. What he was selling was a 5-story brownstone on the Upper East Side. For those of you that know, it was $20 million listing. So I'm sitting there like a kid who's ready to go to Disneyland. I can hardly stay in my seat. I'm so excited. I'd already spent the commission. I was going to pay off the student debts. I was going to send my parents on a cruise for all their support and to pay off my loan. And so I'm sitting there, the contract is right between us. When all of a sudden he stands up, and I can hear that chair scraping the floor. And he says, I'm not going to move forward. And he turns, and I watch him walk away. And in my mind, I'm like, what? What? I was crushed again. I went to my manager and I said, what did I do wrong? Tell me how I can fix this. What is there for me to learn? And he said, well, thought for a second. You know, you win some and you lose some. What? That's all you've got? I was floored. It wasn't an answer. I needed an answer. I needed to be able to learn from it so that I didn't repeat this mistake. So I went to my colleagues. What can I do? And they just shared their horror stories. How many of you have had a client or a deal that you lost that really hurt? Or an account? Yeah. And we get a pat on the back. Wasn't enough. So it started me on my quest for learning to find the answers. And I found them. And it's what I take into corporate America. And I get to teach Fortune 500 companies and Wall Street and real estate companies. Are you interested? The answers aren't only with me, but they're also with bank. Because what didn't I know and what didn't I speak? The code. So it's stories and experiences like these. Well, let me ask you. How many of you have your own muffin story? Yeah. Or do you have sales teams and sales members who have their own muffin story? It's these types of stories that create what I call sales reluctance. How many of you have heard of sales reluctance? Okay, some, not all. This is my definition. It's an emotional hesitation that keeps us from doing the sales activities to move forward with a client or a deal. Whether that's prospecting, making an offer, sharing, inviting. It's a block. It's why we procrastinate. It's why we spend a whole lot of time on social media sometimes. Now, when you think that 1 in 8 full-time sales roles in the United States is a sales professional, here's an interesting statistic around sales reluctance. 40%, oops, if I can get that up, maybe not. So 40% of veteran salespeople admit to 1 or more bouts of sales reluctance, so severe that they might jeopardize their sales career, their whole sales career. That's how intense it can be. So when you add that we've got 1 in 8 professionals in sales with almost either half of your sales force or you're at risk. Those are pretty significant numbers. And that doesn't include all of the consultants, the independent contractors, and those of us in business. Because aren't we all in sales? Yeah, in some form or fashion. Absolutely. So, I have some tips that are going to help you make some more money, do those deals that are going to help you enjoy the process and the people and the relationships and get unstuck. But here, first I want to check in just to kind of get a sense of what sales reluctance looks like. So I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to take a moment and just check in with yourself. Maybe write down a couple of words. So when I say sales or sales professional, you're going to go out and you're going to go sell. What comes up? Write down a couple words, 2 or 3 words. What do you see? What do you feel? What are the memories that you have? While you're coming up with a word or two, most of us, we get into business, we get our bank business, we get into business and become an entrepreneur. Why? For the freedom, for the flexibility to be our own boss, to set our own schedules, so that there isn't a limit on our income. Lots of reasons. But we don't want to be that used car salesperson, do we? That pushy, cheesy, sleazy. So popcorn style, I want to hear a couple of examples. What did you come up with? What are your words? When I say sales, what did you associate? Give me some examples. Resistance, yes. Yes. Hesitancy. What else? Snake oil. Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. What else? Excitement. Very rare. I love it, though. Con artist. Pushy. Fun. I like it. Yes. Now, you can see, for most of us, we have these muffin experiences that color our idea of what sales is, especially if we've been put through that Maytag of just go for the nose and you've gotten beaten up a lot. Has a significant impact. But here are my 3, and of course, it's 3, and I have a list for you, as a good blueprint would, right? So, the 3 Ps, these are going to help you break through, because in the little bit of time that I have with you today, this is what I want to share with you, is that when we look at our bank trainers and the people who are starting their bank business and their bank branch, how do we get you moving? What's in the way? And sales reluctance is one of the big pieces. It's what I love working with and coaching in the training. So the first is you are a problem solver. What problem do you want to solve? Bank can solve a lot of problems. Which one do you want to solve? Or are you already solving? We had some great information yesterday about the sad statistics with teen suicide. Maybe that's your area. If you don't know already, I encourage you to take a moment and consider, what problem do you want to solve that you're passionate about? Those of you that have been with us the last year in the trainings that I do, you know that I like to do the foundational training. We have amazing big training that's going on. How many of you like the training you got this week? Yes. Yeah, our trainers are phenomenal. I want to make sure you have the foundation, because bank is the rocket. Want to make sure that you've got a launching pad that can stand the heat. Right? Thank you. So, making sure that you know what problems you're solving, number 1. Then from there is that we come at it from a place of partnership and collaboration. You are their partner, you're there for the win-win. It's not win-lose. If we get too aggressive and we get pushy, if we're pushing our own agenda because maybe we're starving and we need a deal, we need some commissions, it's about us, not them. One-sided, it's win. You might win, but they lose. The other side of the spectrum is if you're a doormat, you let them run all over you. They win, you lose. Anything with a lose in it is a lose-lose. We want the win-win, which is where you are their partner. Now, sometimes, when you are coming from a place of supporting them in their best interest, they may be in their own blocks and they may have their own resistance, and so it's our job to help shepherd them through that as being of service. But in that, there might be some tension. Most of us, tension doesn't feel so comfortable. And that's what leads me to the 3rd P. Positive tension. For the greater good, for the good of the person that you are serving. The goal is not to be tension-free. We want simple. Simple is not easy. It is not about it being tension-free. We look at people and we see what they put out in front. We see the Instagrams and we see their highlight reel against what's going on backstage in our lives. There's a disconnect. But so this idea of tension-free, it doesn't exist. You're wasting your time. So I want to encourage you to lean in to the positive tension. What do I mean by that? Some examples. If you go to the gym, right, you're lifting weights, that's tension. You're building strength, you're building muscle, but the tension is necessary. Yes? What if you are in a coffee shop? You catch that person's eye from across the room, they catch yours, sparks fly. Sexual tension. It's great. So tension is not bad. The mind only knows and distinguishes familiar and unfamiliar. Familiar, comfortable. Unfamiliar feels a little bit awkward. And that we can associate with bad. So this is the mind shift. Remember the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps are going to help you break through. So when you find yourselves spending too much time on social media, you're avoiding that follow-up call, you're not asking and you're not inviting, consider these 3 pieces. Because when you can shift a little bit of that thinking, the feelings will change as well. And then that puts you in a state that's much more powerful, which is my 4th P. So that you can go out and share bank and the solutions that you offer. So if you have questions, I'm here till Monday. Would love to chat. And my partner in life and in business is here, Ed. Between us, we have 47 years as top producers and training coaches. And we're only 29. So please come and find us. We'd be happy to answer your questions and chat. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that bank has been a part of our relationship. It's part of what brought us together. It is also part of why this is the most fulfilling relationship either of us have ever had. I am so grateful. Yeah. And we talk about it and we share the story in our bank relationships class, so you're more than welcome to come and play with us. I thank you, and to your momentum from your launch pad, thank you very much.